Hello, Internet, and welcome to Nerd Break, the podcast where we take a break from life and nerd out about our favorite things. I'm your host, Joseph, and joining me this week is one of my best friends in the entire world, Zombs.
Hi, it's me, Zombs.
Yes, it is, Zombs. It's you and me. The boys are back in town for another wonderful edition of this podcast.
I didn't leave town to begin with.
Well, you did today, buddy.
Hmm,
This week we are not joined by Moxie, unfortunately. Work duties have called and she has answered.
I
And
was told she had too much pie.
too much pie. Are you saying she got stuffed like a turkey, Zombs?
Do you stuff turkeys with pie?
No, but I guess that is a good point. You don't. But in any case, we are back this week off of a rather short hiatus for the holiday. We did actually intend to record an episode last week, but unfortunately, technical hiccups prohibited us from achieving that goal. So we are here with you this week to go over lots and lots of stuff.
If you mean by technical hiccups, you mean your great aunt who wouldn't stop barging into your room, or your cousins who were just full of energy and wanted to play all your video game systems.
Whatever you want to call a technical hiccup, it was technical hiccups, whatever form and shape they may have been. But let's go over what we've been doing for the past 2 weeks a little, Zoms. How about you start us off? What have you been playing or watching, reading, enjoying in general over the past 2 weeks?
I played a lot of Apex,
Okay.
Dead by Daylight, with a whole bunch of people in town and stuff. That's been pretty fun. I like to be the killer and attack the survivors.
That sounds very
Oh,
zombie-like, Zoms.
reading. I've been reading a lot of manga, catching up on Rising of the Shield Hero, since the new season comes out in 2021. I believe we've discussed that already, and the skeleton that I talked about last time also.
Yeah, that was during our unfortunately done mishap, those Zoms.
Oh,
You'll have to go into that later in the anime segment. How about that, Zoms?
I'll do it. Also, some Fortnite, getting ready for that because the new Galactus stuff is out.
What Galactus stuff is that, Zoms? Are you trying
Oh,
to
just the
destroy the world?
Galactus event.
Is he there to destroy Fortnite?
Probably, but I'll stop him.
Stop him with your puny little rocket launcher, right?
I'm actually pretty good with a class color green handgun.
Okay, then. Well, I've been doing a little bit of gaming myself. I completed one run with one of the characters on Ys Origins, and I've been playing a little bit of Mario Picross in the Super NES app on the Switch. I actually also just got in two brand new games this week for my PS4 that I've given a little bit of time to. I picked up the Spider-Man game for PS4 from Black Friday, and I've been enjoying that. And I also got Horizon Zero Dawn, and I only just got that today, so I've been playing that just a little, just give it a try before podcast here. I can definitely say that I've been enjoying Marvel's Spider-Man though, because I lost track of time while playing it.
How that's the first one, right? Because they have Marvel Spider-Man. That's the game of the year, right?
Yeah, it's the Game of the Year edition. You're correct. It's not the sequel. I did not get Miles Morales. I got the
I think
original.
I've seen you can get the Miles Morales. Is that the Ultimate Edition that I think it's supposed to come with the Spider-Man that you have?
That's the PS5 PS5 version of Miles Morales comes with the original Spider-Man, I believe.
Oh,
But since I don't have a PS5 yet,
just go get one.
that's easier said than done. I wasn't sure about in it. Some of the controls seemed a little weird, but the feeling of being Spider-Man is pretty pretty solid in this game. One of the things that really kind of sells it as you're web swinging, there's a specific music track that starts playing that's really cinematic and made me think of the Sam Raimi movies. It was that kind of music track that played, and it was like, this is really neat to see Spider-Man web swinging, hear that music, and it just kind of takes you into the moment. And then he stops web swinging, takes a dive, and you're completely taken out of the moment. But I'll report back more as I play through both it and Horizon Zero Dawn.
What's the have you gone to a boss yet in Spider-Man?
I in the opening segment, you actually fight Kingpin. So yes, technically I have fought one boss, but he's more or less the opening boss, so I don't know if I can really count him. Fighting him was interesting because he is so strong, and it's kind of a three-stage boss fight. He pulls a Dr. Robotnik when you first face off with him, where he goes and walks back behind a glass that raises up that barricades him in, and these two machine guns turrets pop up, and you have to destroy those first before then he comes at you. And when he comes at you, he is strong. One hit from him takes off like a third of Spider-Man's health. But that first stage is not hard. The second the second part of the fight against Kingpin is a bit harder, especially as you're learning the game, because then you have a bunch of minor enemies that he brings into the fight, and that kind of threw me because I wasn't used to playing the game yet. I wasn't used to being Spider-Man and thinking as a Spider-Man character and kind of trying to stay away from enemies and take them down that way. So it's a learning curve. I'm not used to the stealth mechanics yet. I'm more of a get down there, beat them up, and die kind of guy for some dumb reason.
What about Horizon Zero Dawn?
I've only got through like the first opening segment on that. I played like for an hour.
That's the
And
one where all the animals are like robots, right?
well, not all the animals are robots. It's actually interesting because there's actual real wildlife. Like there was a real rabbit there. But yeah, machines, animals are robots. And unfortunately, I only got a really small taste of the combat because it walks you through the game on a very tutorial basis, and you play as young kid Eloy when you start off, and she gets dumped into a cave. And that cave, because it was so dark, I had to crank up the brightness to 100% in order for me to personally be able to tell what the heck I was doing. And I still had a hard time, but that's probably partially me, and I don't do well in dark environments, anyways.
You wouldn't do too well in Dead by Daylight because there's a lot of dark places sometimes when I'm running through, and I get scared of other survivors, and I'm like, oh no, I can't go there. Oh wait, that's just another survivor. And I turn around and I run towards the survivor, and it turns out it's the killer. I'm like, oops.
So you said you were playing that with family and friends, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Were you tell me a little bit about the multiplayer because I've heard of the game, but I haven't actually played it.
Oh, Dead by Daylight. I believe it's free right now for the people that have those passes. Um, but basically, what it is there's four survivors on a map, and they have to try to repair generators that will open up a door, and then they escape through the door. But while you're trying to do this, there's a killer who runs around and he tries to get you, such as like the Shape, aka Michael Myers from Halloween. They have the Demigorgon, Ghostface, and then a lot of it's mostly those are DLC characters, but it's like other game-made killers, such as like the Hag. Uh, I think that one, she's like a mummy or something. She just slices at you with her claw-like fingers.
That's
And then I saw her get killed by him. I'm like, oh, that's Ding Dong Man.
okay. Well, I think that does it for what we've been doing this week. How about we jump over to the news? Because there is a
Okay.
lot of it to cover this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Doot, 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 doot. It's the news.
Since we did miss last week, we're going to cover just a couple of quick news topics that we had originally intended to cover in last week's podcast. One of which is that Deadpool 3 has been confirmed,
I'm excited for
and
that.
I am curious to see how this works since it's owned by Disney now. Hopefully they will do it justice. But
Do you
I'm
think they'll make
glad.
it rated R?
Oh, I assure you that if it's gonna be a thing, it's gonna get that R rating. I almost guarantee it.
I think that might make it better. Also, I was on social media and I had seen some things, but you know how social media likes to post things that aren't necessarily all true. But I think I had seen something that Ryan Reynolds is going to play a big part in directing it.
That'll be interesting if that's true. That'll be very interesting. I mean, and he should, because if he's gotten this deep into the character anyways, he should know to a certain extent at least how the whole movie should be run. So I would only see that as a good thing.
I believe I was told that he is a legit Deadpool fan, and he has been since the comics were first released in what was it, the 80s, 90s,
I want
something
to
like
say
that.
the 90s, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, like he had been waiting to play this role, and then he finally got it. And I think he does really good as Deadpool.
Well, I will take your word for it as I have not seen the movies myself.
I would like to see a collaboration with Deadpool and Venom. I think that would be pretty neat.
Deadpool and Venom,
Yeah.
that would be interesting. Definitely would be interesting. Why Deadpool and Venom though?
Well, the Venom. If you saw the latest that movie, the new movie, only movie, I think. I'm not sure. There could be others,
No,
but
you're talking
anyways,
about the one put out by Sony, right?
yeah.
I haven't
But
seen it, but yeah.
it was good. I actually enjoyed it. Um, I went in there with negative thoughts, thinking this is gonna suck, and it did not suck.
That's interesting.
I actually enjoyed myself,
Hmm.
and it wasn't just the beer talking.
Okay. Well, moving on to the next quick news segment, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is starting production in March of next year. So we are definitely getting a sequel, and I'm excited for that.
I like how we mentioned next year, and immediately I think, oh man, but then we've only got like less than a month until it's next year.
This is true. This is true. But it could be a very, very long month
Yeah,
for some of us at least.
well, I'm excited for the new movie. I really liked the last movie for Sonic, and again, I went into that theater with negative thoughts, but again, that's another one I enjoyed myself with. I enjoyed the actors. I thought they were great. Jim Carrey was hilarious. It was great seeing him back on the big screen. Um, he really did a great role, and I hope he comes back in the second movie.
I would hope so too, to be honest, because just like you, I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed it a lot. Cast, characters, whole nine yards. It was really generic story, but it was a really well done generic story.
I liked how they used the rings. I remember collecting the rings in the games, and it was simply just what for your score.
No, it was to keep you alive.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I would get way more rings than you.
How do you know? We've never competed.
I can already tell. But
This sounds
it
like a
was
challenge.
it was great. And then now they use the rings as like portals in the movie. So
Yeah,
I thought
that
that was
was a
pretty
negative.
interesting.
That was
You didn't like
complete.
that?
That was sacrilege for Sonic the Hedgehog to use a ring as a portal.
I mean, they had to make them come into our world somehow, and yeah, that was
This is
pretty cool.
this is true. They had to come up with something. Like I said, it was generic. In probably the largest piece of news to come out of last week is that Square Enix announced a sequel to The World Ends With You in the form of Neo, The World Ends With You. Less than unique name convention aside, this game is launching next year. And oh boy, I almost just can't wait because the original was so good. And the sequel is not one for one because it's in 3D and the original was primarily 2D, kind of like a beat 'em up. But this one's full 3D, but the art style, the music, it all looks like it's on point, and this is just amazing that we're getting it. Coming out next year for PS4, Nintendo Switch, I think also PC, but I'm not sure. I'm
I think
excited.
you and I were talking about this last week, but is that the one where you said I could listen to the soundtrack in my car and just really enjoy my car ride?
Oh yes, and you should do that, Zoms. You should do that. You should do that right after the podcast.
Hmm. Okay, you convinced me.
It's it's such a product of the times in some cases. The character designs, it's all really good. I've been playing through the original game, not just recently, but I have it on the Nintendo Switch. Unfortunately, I did not get it for the DS for the original or truly original release. But playing through it on the Switch, I can only give it high praise. Story, characters, the whole nine yards. For anyone that doesn't know what it is, The World Ends With You follows the character Niku as he gets caught up in a game of life or death with this other group called the Reapers. And what happens is they play kind of like a game where Niku has to complete a challenge in a specific time limit. And if he doesn't complete the challenge, then he could die. And he gets paired up with a bunch of other different characters that are all unique. And the mayhem just ensues. Zoms, you should check it out too.
I'm looking at it and I think I'm going to. The artwork looks really neat. So I mean, it's cartoony in a way, but I mean, I've shot those down so many times before, and uh, when I do, I still am told to play, and literally they put it in my hands, and I play it, and I'm like, oh, this was actually really good.
Trust me, from someone who has played it, it really is good. It really is. And I would highly recommend it to anyone that takes a look at it and is on the fence, play it. Moving to news from this week, we have something that you would be interested in here, Zoms, and
Mm.
that is P Cube is releasing a totally free Danmachi shmup on the Switch eShop
What
eventually.
what is this?
You would know it better as Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon?
I mean, yay.
Evidently, this was a game that was a pre ordered DLC in Japan that PCube has decided that they're just going to release to us for free over here in the States at some point once they work out some of the issues that are going on. And it's going to go by the title of Is It Wrong to Try to Shoot 'em Up Girls in a Dungeon?
So it's not available right now.
Not yet. It is supposed to be coming hopefully before the end of the year, but it is coming. And I love shmups to a certain degree, and know that you like Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? And what better marriage
I
of the two?
I am a fan of the anime. I am currently keeping up to date on the current season right now. Um, but you said the end of this year, as in the end of 2020, it should be out before the end of it.
So, as I was reviewing the news article, it doesn't say that P Cube is releasing the game for sure by the end of the year. So, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
In that case, I will put my Switch down and I will attempt to download it at a later date.
In the next little bit of news, Xbox had evidently posted on social media, on their Twitter, a picture of a little hedgehog playing an Xbox. Well, it was sitting on its back behind an Xbox controller, at least. And now everybody's wondering if, you know, they could be trying to acquire Sega. And I was wrong. It was on their Instagram. They posted this picture of a hedgehog with an Xbox controller.
I like it.
Just such a cute little hedgehog. And let the rumors commence. I see in no way, shape, or form Sega being snatched up by Xbox, but who knows? Moving on to yet another piece of news, specifically from Square Enix, they have announced that the game Saga Frontier is getting a remaster. And of course, it's entitled Saga Frontier Remastered. And it's coming out summer 2021 for the PS4, the Switch, and PC. And I watched the trailer before we started the podcast, and I like the graphical art style. It was originally the game was released back in 1998 on the original PlayStation, so it has those early PlayStation graphics, kind of graphics along the same lines as Final Fantasy VI, and I enjoy those kind of graphics, so I am interested in highly intrigued by this game.
I think I'm gonna give it a shot too, because yeah, I'm right there with you with the graphics. And yeah, I do see what you're saying about how it looks classic and stuff, but I need to see a trailer.
There is a trailer in this news article. The graphics that they showed that they had updated actually remained faithful to the original game. The best I could tell, I could not see a huge difference, but I could tell when I was actually paying attention that they were definitely updated, but it wasn't a drastic overhaul. It wasn't like a leap from 2D to 3D. It was in the same vein. So I imagine that there aren't going to be a lot of people that are going to be super into this game, but I could be wrong. I kind of hope that there will be a lot of people that'll pick it up and try it. Next up, in an interesting little piece of news that's been over 20 years in the making, the Pokemon card Kadabra can finally come back to the Pokemon TCG as the magician that had filed a lawsuit against Nintendo over Kadabra has decided that he's going to lift the ban on the card after 20 years.
I didn't even know that there was a ban.
Oh, yes. Back when I was a kid and I was playing the Pokemon TCG, I heard about this. And we're talking about the original sets of cards, the original first 4 or 5 sets of cards that this magician came out of nowhere. And it was all because Kadabra bent spoons with his mind. Well, that and his Japanese name was very similar to this said magician's name. And, well, he put a lawsuit on him, and the card was never seen again. I believe the last time we had Kadabra in the TCG was Team Rocket's Kadabra, and that was a long time ago.
Dang.
Yeah. So I am glad that that can come back
Yeah.
finally.
Also, isn't bending spoons like with your mind like a the first go-to response for people who want to see if they have mind powers.
Yes, it is. Good thing you don't bend any spoons or try to because we already know that you eat mines. In news that you are definitely excited about, Psalms, Super Nintendo World is scheduled to open in February of next year in Japan.
You know, I was after you and I were talking about this for a bit. Uh, how long ago was this? How many days ago? Like a few days ago, whatever.
Yeah,
I had noticed one of my friends had called me. It was at an odd hour. I want to say like 2 o'clock in the morning, and he had called me and he was just like, "Hey, what's going on in Japan?" And I said, "What?" And he says something's supposed to happen in February. And I don't know what he was talking about, but I was like, the Super Nintendo World? And he goes, "Is that what it is? Okay, I gotta go. Bye." And he hung up, and I was like, hmm. So that's my
that was
story.
strange. But you'll be in Japan sometime around then, won't you, Zoms?
Yeah, I'm hoping for it.
Well, that means you're going to have to go check this out and report back, right?
I will.
Be the first reporter on the scene for the Super Nintendo World.
Hopefully, I will. I'm gonna ride
Well,
all the rides. I'm gonna eat
well,
all the food. I'm gonna take all the pictures. I should probably pack a second bag for souvenirs.
well, speaking of some things that could potentially be souvenirs, Crash Bandicoot 4 was evidently hiding a mysterious new logo, and
Where?
it's leading people to speculate that there is another sequel on the way.
Where is it? Where did they find the logo?
It's evidently, it sounds like it's sort of a glitch, but it appears on the TV after you beat the game potentially. And it's a special kind of Wumpa fruit with orange and blue colors swirling around it.
Okay. Uh, I'm pretty excited for another one. If if this is true, I'm not seeing it, but if it's true that they are hiding a new logo for like a tip to another game, this kind of reminds me of like Destiny, how they did the same thing with there was a poster on one of the walls, and he was talking about their new game for the next Destiny game. That was for the first one.
Hmm.
It took a while to figure that one out, but maybe after that experience, people are now seeing this logo. So I don't know. It could be real.
It honestly, in looking at it, it didn't look like much and it goes by so quickly. But it comes after they show the logos for the first, second, and third games in the Crash Bandicoot line. So I don't know. I don't think it's anything. It almost made me think of a quick test pattern on the TV like they would show. But getting a sequel would be interesting. Getting Crash Bandicoot 5. I mean, we got Crash Bandicoot 4, so guess we'll find out eventually. Next up, in a piece of news that's been rather unsettling as it develops, a scalper group over in the UK have been claiming that they had gotten hold of a bunch of PS5s, and they had also claimed that they had gotten hold of a bunch of Xbox Series X's. Well, evidently, one of the retailers in the UK actually canceled 1,000 pre-orders from said scalper group, and it was because of a technical error. The Xbox Series X consoles were not actually up for sale, which I find hilarious.
The people need their new consoles.
Yes, they do. I absolutely detest scalpers, especially with them trying to make money on these brand new consoles. It's the stock is so constrained as is. I mean, come on, people. If you are a scalper and you stumble on our humble podcast, get a life. Stop doing this. Don't be so downright mean to people that you buy these brand new consoles and try to make a humongous profit off of people. Times are hard enough as it is. Okay, so just don't do it.
Shame on you.
You tell them, Zombs. You tell them. In a quirky piece of news, the Wonderful 101 is not only getting a demo, evidently, which for anyone that hasn't played the Wonderful 101, please go download the demo right now of the remastered version because there's another piece that you're going to like in it, and that is you can play as Wonderful Bayonetta.
I need to see this.
Oh, when I saw this, my heart skipped a beat. Platinum Games is not i- Platinum Games is known for doing some crazy stuff, but they actually put Bayonetta and Jean and Rodin in the Wonderful 101, which is so funny. Seeing them, I cannot imagine that they play too differently from the characters that are already in the game, but it's just funny. It's so funny, and it's a nice nod to the Bayonetta series. But you don't have to own the game to be able to play as Wonder Bayonetta. You can just download the demo and play as her, which is awesome.
Have you played Thunderful 101?
I own it. I own two versions of it. I played it on the original on the Wii U, and I bought the Switch remaster. And I have
What
downloaded.
can you tell me about it, the Wonderful 101? Like what is it about?
Well, it's to summarize it, you are a superhero group that takes on an alien invasion from a group of aliens called Geth Jerk, and they are invading Earth. The basic premise is that the superpower of your superheroes is that you save citizens and they use them to unite to form these giant things, whether it's a giant fist or a giant sword or a giant gun. And the more citizens you have on your side, the bigger you can make these things. And it's kind of like a beat 'em up almost, but in full 3D. It's really unique. It's over the top by a lot, and it's stylized. I enjoyed it when I played it originally on the Wii U. It takes a little bit of getting used to, I will admit that, and sometimes it gets a little difficult. But if you have not seen it, not played it, never heard of it, and what I've just said interests you in any way, shape, or form, I would highly recommend that you give the demo a try because it's Platinum Games wackiness in all the right places. And if you like superheroes, that's a bonus.
Yeah, looking at it, it looks really cartoony. It kind of reminds me of that one game, Beautiful Joe.
Oh yes, and I liked Beautiful Joe. So
Yeah, that's the art style that it looks like. And the character, like, they're like the big heads and little bodies. It's so I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it a shot. I think this one I had also heard that the soundtrack is based off of, or if they got help from some sort of like punk band. But I was listening to some of the soundtrack and I really liked it.
well, I haven't heard that, but I can say that the soundtrack's pretty good. If you're gonna stack it up between that and like The World Ends with You, I would say The World Ends with You would probably be a little bit better, and The
Oh,
Wonderful 101 is a little more forgettable. But I still would suggest play the game. Speaking of things that you can play, we had found out last week that you could download a particular application to the Xbox Series S, a developer toolkit of sorts, and you could emulate games. Well, evidently, among the things that you can emulate were not just GameCube games, original PlayStation games, and DS games of all for some strange reason. Well, you can also emulate and play PS2 games on the Xbox Series S. And, well, oddly enough, the Xbox Series S runs PS2 games rather well. And actually, a little bit better than, the PS4, which is all kinds of confusing.
So it's not the Series X, it's only the Series S that can do this?
Well, the dev mode activation app is available on both because it's on the Xbox store, so you could technically potentially do it on the Series X. But the person that did this did it on the Series S, which either way you slice it is pretty interesting that there's a legitimate way, technically, to emulate games,
I would
especially competitive
imagine
games.
I would imagine that you can probably play it on the Series X, because I think can everything that the Series S do, you can also do on the Series X, but not vice versa?
Technically, since Microsoft has done an all-in-one platform, it doesn't matter whether you own an Xbox One or an Xbox Series S or an Xbox Series X. You should be able to do all of it on all of them.
Oh.
I don't know about the Xbox One because I think there is a more major difference between that and the Series S and the Series X.
There are some games that I used to really enjoy on the PS2, that are only available on the PS2. So I may look into this. I think it's just another reason to get the Xbox over the PS5. I just see a lot more things to do on the Xbox than on PlayStation.
Please take note that our non-existent lawyer just came to me and told me that technically emulation is a gray area and to do it at your own risk and well, do it at your own risk because it may or may not be legal. Another little piece of Xbox related news, evidently you can use Alexa to start up games on your Xbox Series X, among other things, as well as Google Home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So if your Xbox Series X is in sleep mode or whatever, you can tell Alexa to start up a game and away it goes.
I'm gonna give it a shot.
Did you get an Xbox Series X Zombs?
Nope.
Then I guess we'll be waiting a little while for that.
But I do have an Alexa.
Well, there you go.
She always butts in on conversations sometimes.
You know who else butts in on things? Hackers. And in our next piece of news, a hacker who stole confidential information from Nintendo has been sentenced to 3 years in prison. So take that,
Well,
hackers.
on the
Evidently,
bright
when he
side, he does get 3 meals a day.
yeah, but evidently back in 2017, the FBI warned him when he was underage to stop what he was doing, and he didn't listen. So when he got to the age of 21, they arrested him finally because he did not stop. And thank goodness they did. Because among the things that he had were very inappropriate pieces of material. And so he now has a long list of things that are going to follow him for the rest of his life.
That dirty, dirty man.
Indeed. Tell you, some people just don't learn. In our next piece of news, have you, Zoms, heard of the game VA-11 space Hall A, otherwise known as Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Game?
No, I have not. What is it? But it sounds interesting. I'm looking at the picture and I think I need to know more.
Well, I can't tell you a whole lot because I haven't played it myself, but it has been a cult classic and it was getting a sequel called N1RV space ANN-A, which would be Nerve on a Cyberpunk Bartender Action that was supposed to come out this year. And that has been evidently pushed back to whenever the developer says it is done. Because they may or may not be working on other pieces, other games, which I found this very intriguing. The game, I It sounded very interesting. I unfortunately don't know a lot about it, but I saw it on Limited Run's site and I was very tempted to get it. But the fact that this cult classic game is getting a sequel and the sequel's been pushed back to 2020, that just sounds like the year in general. Are you intrigued enough that you might look into this further, Zoms?
I am excited for this. The art style looks very anime-esque. At the same time, I thought it had something to do with Cyberpunk 2077 coming out. But actually, that does come out in 8 days, so I'm excited for that. And I really want to look more into this like Valhalla thing. I wonder if I can learn bartending from it.
That would be interesting if you could, Zoms. You'll have to let us know if you can. It
I
is
will.
available now, so you could go download it right away
For
and
free?
let us know. No, it's not free. It does
Dang it.
cost money.
Dang it.
In the next piece of news, the movie star of the Uncharted movie too, Tom Holland is evidently going to be presenting a few awards at the Game Awards, which is coming up next week. That boy gets around.
Yeah, he does seem like he's in a lot of stuff on the media as well, but he actually seems like a really cool guy, actually.
You know
I
he
wonder if
does.
he watches anime.
That would be an interesting question for you to ask him sometimes. I know
Maybe
you
we should
two
get
are,
him as a guest here on Nerd Break.
let's do it.
Okay. There will be pizza afterwards here at my house.
In our final piece of video game related news, Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, has applauded Sony for what they've done with the PS5 DualSense controller. Among the things that he said is that he is he applauds them for what they did with the controller, not necessarily just for the specifics of the controller, but more than the specifics of the controller because he thinks it's good for the whole industry that each of them can learn from the other in innovation and pushing forward with new ideas. Just as the Wii before came out with motion control and Microsoft tried to push with the Kinect and Sony with the Move, innovation is something they should all be looking at and learning and growing from.
As far as with the PS5 controller, um, I, I did notice, this is the first big major change that I've seen aside from adding the touchpad to the last controller. Now it's got a dip, like it follows kind of the same design, but the shape is a bit different. So I don't know. I just wanted to see something very different, but it's cool how they have the motors right now, and they're super sensitive, and how they change it to the USB-C. I mean, that's cool because now they're all universal, kind of in that way.
I'm personally excited. If I could get a hold of a PS5 right now, I would. Not just for the controller, but more or less for the controller. But
That's pretty
time will
much
tell.
it going for me is the controller.
Yeah. Well, that does it for the video game related news. Zoms, would you like to kick us over to the anime news?
Anime news time is now, and here we go. So, we wanted to talk about this. We did talk about it a bit in the news section, but The World Ends With You, the game, is getting an anime, which supposedly will release April 2021. I'm excited for this. I believe it'll just follow the first game. So I mean, that's another reason to pick up the game, is you get the story for it that way. Um, I mean, it looks good. If the soundtrack is that good, I can only imagine what the intro and outro songs will be like. I will probably go purchase them and make them my new ringtones. Who knows? We will see.
I'm excited for this too. Of course, I really enjoyed the game, but I would really like to see what they do with the anime because the art style itself just lends so well to an anime. It's hard to believe that it hasn't happened sooner,
Do
honestly.
you think that you're going to actually watch this anime?
I think there is a very, very good chance that I will watch this anime.
Wow, your first anime.
No, this is not my first anime zombs.
I like how when Moxie and myself talk about anime and we just tend to leave you out of the loop, and then you just sit there looking at us like, I'm here too.
That's so mean, zombs. So mean.
This The next thing is I had mentioned it before, but I've just been so hooked with this. I wanted to talk about this last week. Um, the Skeleton Soldier Failed to Defend the Dungeon is a uh, web comic. I believe it's from Korea, but I've been so stuck on this. Just I can't seem to put this down, but I need to because I have other things to do, such as uh, reading and other animes, video games, other many things. But this one follows the story of a simple dungeon monster, the skeleton, but this particular skeleton sees his master, his lady succubus, is killed in front of him. He tries to defend. He keeps those stats, but goes back to level 1. So he keeps learning and he keeps getting stronger. But he had questioned it. How many times is he able to die before he can't be revived anymore? So there's that. And it also seems like it is 10 years in the past, I believe, from when he first died. So he kind of has some knowledge of what's to come. And he's seen that there are things going on behind the scenes. I definitely would recommend this. He looks a lot like Ainz Al Ghul from Overlord, uh, but I mean, it's really neat. I wouldn't call it an isekai, although he is able to check stats like as if he is in a video game, but it doesn't appear to be a video game. I would definitely
Sounds
recommend it.
intriguing. Is it an ongoing series?
From what I'm seeing, it is. I'm trying to get in contact with the creator, but it's really hard. There's also the language barrier, so that's where you're gonna have to help me.
Oh, well, that's because I obviously know like 100 different languages. So.
Hmm, you can learn. Or
Indeed.
anybody listening to the podcast, if you'd like to help me in my ventures, possibly to go to South Korea and you tag along with me and be my translator, or if this happens to get to South Korea and they're like, hey, I'll help you out, come on over here, then send us an email. Brosive, what's that email?
How about you could send it to nerdbreakpodcast@gmail.com?
Yeah. Next on our anime list is The Way of the House Husband is coming out sometime in 2021. We do not have an exact date yet, but it will be released on Netflix. I like when Netflix picks up stuff. This was a manga, and basically what it is a one of the top Yakuza members becomes a house husband, and they did release a live action trailer. I thought that was pretty funny. He's just so serious in everything that he does, but he puts 100% into everything he does, such as making a bento box. He makes a bento box and he puts the smallest details into everything. Um, and afterwards, he has to take a picture, and it looks really neat. And it's all for his wife, whom she comes running through the house, and she's in a hurry to get to work, and she leaves, and he realizes, wait, she did not take her bento box. So he grabs on his shoes, steals a bicycle, and chases after her. while wearing an apron to deliver her bento box.
Poor guy.
It is it's hilarious. I can't wait for the anime. If you've seen the manga, please don't spoil it for me because I did not. I am up to my eyeballs in other manga such as Konosuba and Rising of the Shield Hero, and now the Skeleton Soldier failed to defend the dungeon. So,
You know what, Zombs? I'm gonna read the manga and then I'm gonna spoil it for you.
okay.
So you don't have to
I don't
worry,
believe
buddy.
you're going to read the manga, but okay. And another bit of news, Attack on Titan. This, the fourth season, also labeled as the final season, is coming out this week.
You know,
Well,
it's hard to believe that they're ending it already.
yeah, it took so long for season 2 to come out after season 1, and now they're finally ending it. There's still a lot of questions, and it's really good. I like it if you can get past all the devouring of people and stuff like that. But that is being released, I believe December 7th is the first episode will air in Japan.
Wow, don't have to wait very long for that then.
No,
That's awesome.
it's like what, 5 days from now?
Yeah.
So
Of
I'm
course, when this
excited.
podcast goes up, it'll be even less, but
Yeah, still.
that is
And
exciting. I haven't followed the series, but I've seen enough of it that I was interested in it. I just haven't ever gotten around to watching it.
yeah, the first episode, I love that when anime do that now. Before it used to be like you have to watch the first like 30 episodes. It gets good, trust me. Over here in the United States of America, uh, if you have to watch 30 episodes of something before it gets good, I think it'll probably get canceled.
Yeah,
But
this is true.
but lately, a lot of anime have been pulling me in, and just like the first episode, it only takes like minutes for me to get sucked in, and I'm just like, wow, this is really good. Those are the really good anime, such as ReZero, um, which is actually getting a video game supposed to be released January 28th of 2021.
I heard about that. I actually heard about that.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It looks interesting. The art style kind of reminds me of like Animal Crossing in a way. Um, so I don't know how I feel about that. But you know what? I'm probably gonna get it because my other waifu Rem is in there, so I will get it.
You and your waifus,
hmm I
they're
give
never
them
ending,
I give them respect every day.
as you should.
hmm I am indeed a gentleman. My waifus will not go unnoticed. Like maybe girls will be like, "Oh, I did my hair today and he didn't notice." Well, if you were my waifu, I'd notice.
Attaboy, Zombs. Attaboy. Is that it for the anime news, Zombs?
That is it for the anime news.
Alright, then it is time, Zombs, for this week's.
Big topic.
That's right, Zombs. Every week we have a big topic to discuss. And if you, dear listener, would like to suggest a big topic to happen in one of our future podcasts, please send that to our email at nerdbreakpodcast@gmail.com. This week's big topic is who we think of the nominees will potentially win the Game Awards this year. Now, to keep this a little bit on the simpler side, we're only going to go over the games and The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh wow.
Yes, we have an eclectic list of games this year. Only one of them from the Nintendo Switch, well, from Nintendo specifically, and oddly enough, Animal Crossing New Horizons, which I'm sure if Moxie was here would probably be her vote for who should win Game of the Year. at the Game Awards. But Zoms, what do you think? Let's get a little bit of your opinion here to start with. Have you
A
have
lot of those are really good games. Uh, Doom Eternal is great if you know you're at the office all day and you just want to go home, have a beer, and uh, give it to the demons of hell. You could do that. Just an endless slaughter. It's a good way to vent. Animal Crossing, yes, that is a lot of fun. And I mentioned these two because they came out together.
Oh yeah, they came out day and date, and there were so many memes.
Yeah. Actually, I had recently seen a music collaboration for Animal Crossing and Doom, and it was really good. I was actually listening to it in my car. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it.
Oh
Ghost of
wow.
Tsushima, I had heard a lot of good things about. So the storyline looks really good. The artwork looks really good. The gameplay. I was told it was like a cross between like The Witcher and Assassin's Creed. Uh,
And Breath of the Wild a little too.
oh yeah.
Because it has a big open world.
Well, yeah.
That was really
Uh,
fun to explore evidently.
Let me see. Last of Us. Um, I unfortunately have not played Last of Us. I have seen it, and it looks really good. From the many people that have played it, I was told that it's like playing a storybook, pretty much, or like you're pretty much playing a movie. I know some couples, like one would play and the other one would just simply watch and have just about as much fun just watching.
Yeah,
So I mean that says a lot.
it
Um,
does. I haven't played it either, but it is one of those games that the story especially it sounds like would just suck you in.
yeah, actually, here's something about the voice actor for Ellie, Ellen Page. Um,
Hmm.
I believe she is now a he.
That's random.
Yeah, I was like, well, okay.
Of
What other
these,
games were there?
that was it. Well, Hades.
Oh,
You
okay.
didn't mention Hades.
I don't really know too much about Hades, unfortunately.
I've
Uh,
gotten to see it a
so,
little. It's another beat 'em up style game that was supposed to be. It's a beat 'em up roguelite. So when you die, you start over again, kind of thing.
uh,
And it was supposed to be really well done. It was done by Supergiant Games, which has a really good pedigree. I haven't heard
yeah.
anything negative about it as of yet.
Sorry, Hades. I didn't really hear too much about you, but
Now
I'm pretty
you
sure you're good.
you have played Animal Crossing New Horizons, and so have I. I know. Have you gotten a chance to play any of these other games that are listed here?
The only other one that I actually got to play was Doom Eternal.
Okay.
So I was at a party and they handed me the controller and I said okay. So I did it and it like I said it's a lot of hack and slash. You have to keep moving, you can't stop. You have to think quickly in situations. It's just sheer chaos and I loved it.
Now, I had heard a lot of good things about the soundtrack for Doom Eternal pumping you up because it's a heavy metal soundtrack. Was that something that was in Doom Eternal?
Yes, actually, there is. I actually listen to the soundtrack sometimes, um, and it's a lot of headbanging going on. It's a lot of powerful, fast-paced music, and it can really set the mood. I'd suggest not listening to it when you're shaving, because I'd hate you to kill yourself.
That's a bit gruesome.
Yeah, or maybe, if you're taking a shower and you're listening to it, and I'd hate for you to get soap in your eye from all the head banging or something like that.
I will take that under advisement.
Yeah, don't fall and break a butt cheek.
I actually got to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. I have it, and I played and beat it actually.
Oh yeah, that's a again, we have to clarify that it's a remake, not the remaster. So it's a different game, but I was looking at that and it looks really neat.
I would recommend
I
a
was
lot
told
of
that it
people
plays
play it.
similarly to Kingdom Hearts. Is that true?
Um, no, yes and no. It actually skews more in the vein of Final Fantasy 15. I've
Hmm.
played Kingdom Hearts, I own Kingdom Hearts 3, and I've played Final Fantasy 15, and it's more like Final Fantasy 15 to be honest. But it's better than Final Fantasy 15 because the combat is more leaning towards a strategic action based platform than it is a action based platforming game, if that makes sense. I personally enjoyed it. I really did. I have so much praise that I could heap on the game. It's relatively short for what's worth, though, because they do only cover a very small section of the original Final Fantasy VII. And I will tell you this, I have not actually ever beaten Final Fantasy VII, but I want to see how this remake continues and progresses because they did a good job with the characterization of all the characters. Honestly, it's so cinematic, and every fight feels worth fighting from even the lowliest enemy all the way up to the bosses. There's a little bit of chugging, if I remember correctly, during some of the bosses, but they seem to zip by pretty quickly. That doesn't feel too bogged down. So the ultimate question, though, here is which of these games do we think is going to win Game of the Year?
That's a toughie because they're all they're all pretty good games.
I don't know. I
Um,
actually think I could eliminate a couple of them right away.
okay, let's hear your angry remarks about some games.
Oh no, these are not angry remarks. These are just
Negative.
no, not in the least. Because for one, I can't have too big of a negative opinion, especially against games that I haven't played. And well, I have only played two games on this list, so I can't have too many negative opinions. But I can say that I probably would say Animal Crossing New Horizons is not going to win.
Oh
I
wow, I
can
was
say that.
expecting you to say that would be the one to win.
No, because and we'll get to this possibly in a future podcast, but Animal Crossing, while a fun game and great for the time frame that it came out in, doesn't stack up against a lot of these other games when it comes to pushing and innovating and storytelling. Animal Crossing is kind of like comfort food. You play it when you want something to kind of comfort you, to give you that kind of homey feeling. And that's not bad in itself, but it just isn't, from my perspective, game of the year material. When you stack it up, especially when it's sitting right next to The Last of Us Part 2 on this list, you look at it and it's like, yeah, Animal Crossing's neat, but at the end of the day, what game would I personally rather play? And unfortunately, Animal Crossing just is not it. And I would also say that about Hades, though I cannot say anything negative about it because I have not played it. It's just one of those games that, at the end of the day, when you look at these AAA games such as Ghost of Tsushima or Doom Eternal, I just I can't see it. I can't see it winning against those.
I think that Animal Crossing will probably go pretty high, only because uh, there is no real end to it. You have to put in a lot of time in order to get places in that game. Whereas I was told that, yeah, other games were pretty short, unfortunately. But I don't know. I would like to see how far, like Ghost of Tsushima would get. Um, Last of Us Part 2. I was told that that also wasn't a very long game, but really what you want to look at is replay value.
Right.
There's going to be those hardcore people who are going to beat video games. There are some games I know when they come out, like I know GameStop offers guaranteed to love it, where if you get a brand new game on the release date, you have 48 hours to bring it back and get full credit back for the game, which I think is crazy because I'm thinking, well, who's going to play that fast? And there are some people that do it just to play it, but then, think about it, the replay value. There are some games that I go back and I play, such as like Pikmin. I like to go back and play that game. I remember the Halo games were a lot of fun. I would go back and play those, some of the Gears of War games. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at. What really catches your attention all around with the gameplay, the story mode, the artwork, and the replay value.
So, of
That's
these games here, which do you think captures that the best?
maybe Ghost of Tsushima.
It's interesting you say that, but I was thinking that as well.
Mm,
If I had to pick a single game on this list, as much as I like certain games over others, I would have to say Ghost of Tsushima is probably the best for winning Game of the Year at the Game Awards
yeah.
this year.
Plus, they already had that. What was that? Like an expansion come out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah, I
they
was
had an
so surprised with
expansion.
how quickly that had come out.
Yeah, it was amazing considering that game dropped in June, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, yeah, just to go over real quick what I was thinking about these other games here for Game of the Year. I just don't think that any of the others, I mean, other than Animal Crossing, reach as wide of an audience. And really, Zombs, you summarized it the best. The Ghost of Tsushima really, it covers a whole lot of boxes. It checks so many boxes on the list from
height
replayability.
is a samurai.
Indeed. From replayability to the open world, it just checks so many boxes. And you had mentioned, well, the expansion that came out and how quickly it came out. It's amazing. But that does it for this week's big topic, as well as this week's podcast. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to do all those things on YouTube that you do so well. Like this podcast, subscribe if you're not already, drop a comment if you'd like, but more importantly, send us an email. Send listener mail to nerdbreakpodcast@gmail.com. Ask us anything, comment on anything. Let us know what you think. But on behalf of myself and Zombs,
That's me.
thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye, everyone.
Adios. They say that over here in California.